I am inviting you to conspire with me. Likely we have relationship, and so this comes as a request, an invitation, an explanation, and a portal for collective healing legacy for love. The vision that I am inviting you into is to be a part of making history. And how we do that when we think of things like Judy Chicago with her art exhibition that is even to this day in Brooklyn called The Dinner, or Eve Ensler's Vagina Monologue that is international and continues to have meaning and transformation for those who see the work that art can and does change culture. I have been privileged to behold and watch and witness a dear friend of mine, Pooja Prema, in her holding and giving her life force energy for something that she calls Rites of Passage 2020. And she has been holding the vision of 65 women of color, Black, Indigenous, immigrants, transgender, non-binary, gender fluid, people that are okay with centering on the lives and the experiences of womanhood in a place that shares their most interior, intimate feelings and knowings and wisdom in ways that hasn't been represented or centered upon in this kind of form. It takes place in Rooms of Cure that will be a place in Pittsfield, Massachusetts on August 13th through the 17th, where there'll be 10 performances over those days that will bring you into 21 Rooms of Cure. Where we come in is that I would like to sponsor, dedicate, and get behind at least one of these rooms. The room I'm thinking about is V is for Victory, because it's about those coming after us, the lineage, and those that the future of our the future of what we're living into. And I want to invite us to be a part of liberation work, reparation work, in ways that the people that are holding this will know that there are communities that care, that we're not just people who are putting up Black Lives Matter, but we actually are putting resources and funds into various projects and ways to bring things to the surface for conversations, for education, for healing. And so I thought about this for a while. I know that many of you know that I work with groups and I've had a women's mystery school for 22 years. And COVID made it impossible for us to gather in person. And so where I had been doing reparations with some of the funding that I was making from work, this is not as possible for me. But what is possible is still the connections that I have with other people. And I thought, why not take on an entire room to sponsor it, to know that that's what we're doing. We're getting behind a room. So I want you to just know that where I'm going to send you is our own way to see that it is the community of people that is us raising up $5,000. And so where it says all the different perks, we're not going to be taking any perks. We're going to be just the place that holds the sponsorship of a room. So even though you're going to see perks, it's just that there's no way in the fundraiser, even though we can have our own room that funnels into that, there's no way to give every single donor the perks that are listed. So that's the first thing to know. If you really want a perk, just go to the main fundraiser and then you can have a perk there and go in. But our purpose here is to see if we can be a visible presence in our dedication and our commitment. And I know that you're committed and dedicated to these things, because if you're watching this, you and I probably have done something together, or we've been in some relationship that is about how we take our life force, our purpose, our sense of what is, and bring it in the ways we can to our communities. I also want to tell you that when I was thinking about this particular momentum to raise up a room, or to, there's another womb room that I think the Red Tent movement would be excellent in getting behind that room. I began to also think of people in my life that have passed in this duration, not just in this last year, but this last few years, that have rocked my world. And I know that many of you know them too. So I want to also dedicate this momentum in my life to the ancestors of the women that I know would be behind this project, but also are already woven in. And when I started to do that, started to think about them, and whether that was appropriate, or whether it was integral, or whether it was right to bring in these white women ancestors, I also started to realize that this is a way of keeping their memory, their life force, all of what they were dedicated to alive and well. So I'm going to bring them up in names. 3 of them were part of my Women's Mystery School Priestess Path, and even though we have more ancestors, these are the ones that I am naming right now. So Cherise Matthews, Kristen Brockett Wilkie, Marie Summerwood, and in my larger communities, still knowing and touching all the communities that I am presently speaking to right now, Morwen Two Feathers, and my dear beloved sister, Shauna Carroll. So this allows us and allows me to take what I think is going to be just an incredible experience that's going to cause ripples. It's going to go out, because this is not just a simple art project. This is bringing people from across our country. It's going out in the community at large. It will be filmed. It will be a book. It will be perhaps a movement of other houses started, and other ways to do something that is similar to this. So in this place, back to the women that I brought forward, I have been dreaming about them since I've begun this momentum of let's get behind a room. I was explaining to somebody, I went to SoundCloud, and I went to put in an artist that has hundreds of songs, and only one song came up, and it was about a friend of hers who had passed, and how, because she was an artist, that she would live her life as art. And for me, that was resonance with Cherise all the way, because she brought so much into our communities. Every single woman I mentioned has, and she also, before Cherise died, we gathered in all the art that she had made in many different forms, and she was able to put that gallery up, only days before her passing. Kristen Brockett Wilkie she was a daughter person for me. I spent 15 days by her bedside in her dying process, and she is and was fierce in the ways that she showed up for so many people. And each one of these women I could speak so much about. Marie Summerwood, I remember one of the first times I met Marie, she was leading 500 women in Where Women Gather, or actually it was prior to that, in the other form that it was in. And she also was a cook for Susan Weed for a long time, and of course her songs we are singing to this day, that she brought to us. Also fierce. Also, one of her last messages to me was around the racial justice work. So each one of these women I know from Shauna Carroll's songs. Shauna brought many songs forward about really being earth citizens, and also she was very cognizant of the way that black men were being incarcerated and wrote songs about it early on, and began those conversations. And Morwen, she is part of my Fireheart tribes, Rites of Spring tribes, but also in her own community did so much work with racial justice. She was dedicated to it. And each one of these rooms, when these performances will happen, they will be held by women percussionists. And for that reason, I want to bring Morwen in for all the ways as a woman percussionist early on that she held us in so many places, in so much beauty, in so much healing. And so I really and truly want to raise up this room. So if you want to be a donor, you can do it in large ways. Obviously, easiest would be $100 at least, so that we can just move this through fairly quickly. And if not, really $5, $10 just says I'm here. If you cannot do that, to share. Facebook is difficult right now to get any kind of messaging through. So anything that you can do to share what this is about or what we're doing, and I feel like we can do this easily with a lot of joy, with a lot of yes, with a lot of yeah, we're doing this, we're getting behind this. Take a listen to Pooja's
honoring
1-minute
the voices
video.
of women of color, the stories of women of color.
We are the shifting of
Rites of Passage 2020 Vision is a house of belonging, resilience, and remembering. One house, 21 rooms, 65 women, 5 days, 10 live performances, reparations, reverence, ritual.
We welcome you to be a part of this vision. We are rites of passage.
When we bring the fortress down, we are the rising.
We are the once and future vision of our ancestors.
And I hope to be there for much of what's going to happen there, just in terms of any kind of support that I can offer. So this is a living, breathing invocation for remembrance and healing justice on behalf of all of our lineages of many colors. So I'm reading now some of what is on the website of Rites of Passage 2020. At this unprecedented time in our history, Rites of Passage 2020 offers women of color a unique invitation to take up space, to embody their wisdom and their healing and beauty. And in doing so, we remember and transform ourselves, our lineages, and inspire each other to do the same. This is for everybody. And this is centered on these voices that are part of what our collective work is right now. So you being a part of this is to be a part of the collective healing legacy for love. And if we raise up the $5,000 quickly, we'll see about a second room. This is about lineage, seeds, sovereignty, fertility, sustenance, medicine, water, womb, flowers, victory, diaspora story, weaving the legacy, soil, ancestral soul, healing justice, remembrance. I brought here, I'm a gardener, and I brought some forget-me-nots. So forget-me-nots is for those here, I'm going to plant them for this vision and for the ancestors that I'm speaking about, and watch them grow over this summer, so that there should be quite a few of them by the time we arrive to August. And if you think, oh well, it's just a short time, I picked these a bit ago, but things sometimes happen in short times that have great beauty. This actually reminds me of another ancestor of mine, Alex. It's Bleeding Heart. I love when they bloom. It's her birthday time, and it's also around the time that she passed from this world at 30 years old. So I am serious right now about honoring our ancestors that have given us so much, and remembering them in what we're doing, and also bringing forward something that is going to create beauty and healing and love in our world. Some of the rooms of cure they're listed there, but you can see them: migration, diaspora, honoring the immigrant experience, no longer silent on healing sexual trauma, legacy, honoring lineage-based wisdom and sovereignty, the grief room, a memorial for diasporic lineages oppressed through colonization and displacement, woman, heal thyself, the healing of women's body and water bodies, the living womb, revisioning birth and addressing the lack of adequate natal care for BIPOC women. Taboo, a walk-in closet about abortion, miscarriage, stillbirth. This is happening in a house. Each room is going to be telling these stories. Queer love, about the queer experience. Transcendent, on the trans experience and gender fluidity. Remembering my mother, honoring our mothers and motherhood. Remembering my father, about women's complex relationships to men and masculinity. Girlhood, reclaiming childhood from gendered stereotypes. Adolescence, curated by a group of local youth from ROPE program. The kitchen, rediscovering intergenerational community and nourishment. Age as power, in praise of menopause and aging. The elder room, honoring the wisdom of radically embodied elderhood. Divorce, the end of partnership and marriage. Dissolution, a room about spiritual breakdown, breakthrough, and rebirth. Forgiveness, on forgiving ourselves, our ancestors, our oppressors. The body room, a bathroom celebrating female and femme bodies of all kinds. V is for victory. This is the one I would like to sponsor. An altar room to fertility and creative sovereignty. Sustenance, on reclaiming women's relationship to nature, estranged through displacement and migration. The sustenance pantry, an heirloom seed bank and pantry of ancestral foods of sustenance. The library, an intersectional multicultural feminist library. The death and rebirth canal, embracing the life-death cycle. So this project is going to require a lot. We are close, Puja is close, to raising up nearly $200,000. It's about maybe $35,000 short right now of reaching its goal. You can't even imagine what that means and requires to do that kind of fundraising. And we can be a part of that. If you know in Pittsfield places that could, like a camp that could house the women while they're here for a number of weeks preparing for this. If you have food that you can bring. I was saying if you didn't have a donation, if you could just continue to share and bring it forward so that it's known about. Each room in the house represents a stage or theme of initiation from birth to death using ritual, art, and performance. It is a living, breathing invocation for the healing of our lineages and the weaving. I don't remember what it is, what I've written, because my handwriting is funny here. And our fertile future for generations to come. And as I said, this house is going to speak to the interior life of stories that have never been shared to the public before. It is intimate, it is vulnerable. And we believe these voices specifically have the medicine that we collectively need to create a more just, viable, and empowered future for all beings. Thank you, Pooja, so much. It is a place of healing and reclamation, specifically for cis and trans women, as well as non-binary and gender-fluid people who are comfortable in a space that centers on the experiences of women. So if you can, I would like for you to ask other people about this, whether they would be willing to donate to get this first fund and this first room sponsored by our communities that are listening to this and who are part of each other. We are the once and future visions of our ancestors. When I bring these women forward in my life, each one of them I loved so dearly. They are still in my everyday life, and I would like to honor their lives by sponsoring a room of cure in our world. I believe that it can be an uplifting and responsible and I want to use the word liberation, but the hawk just flew over. I know you know my heart. I don't need to use the right words. What I need to do is reach your heart and to let you know that though I'm teary, I'm really excited about this because I think because I've been a person who, even though there was so much to do with social justice in the places of holding ground, at the same time, there is also the need to grow the world that we want to see. And this is the world I want to see, where we honor the rites of passage, where we honor our lineages and our stories, and we also honor those coming. And to actively be a part of reparations and places where liberation work is occurring, particularly in my life with women of color, indigenous women, immigrant women, whose voices need to be centered upon in this moment. So I want to get behind this. I hope that you are hearing your entry point, your portal, your invitation to the collective healing legacy for love, and that this can happen quickly and with enthusiasm for what I know is going to be a really spectacular experience among us. And I'm just looking to see if there's anything else that I wanted to share with you. I think not, but again, it doesn't come with perks. We don't need the cookies. We're just going to get behind this. If you need the perks, if you're a large donor, or if you want to sponsor your own room out of one of these, you can just go to the main website, Rites of Passage 2020. This one is specific for sponsoring one room that we are going to get behind together. Okay? Ready? We're going to do this. It's going to be beautiful. Thank you.